Welcome to this special edition of the OCFOA Film Study. This edition will deal with sideline management. We're calling it Take Back the Sidelines. In 2014, Wayne Clark produced an exceptional video that will be the basis for this 2017 video. A big thank you to Wayne for his excellent work. In light of the 2017 points of emphasis regarding sideline management, I thought it was a good time to revisit this topic. This video has been approved by the OCFOA Instructional Chairman, Chad Wilson. I'm Mark Andrews. Let's take a look at the many aspects of sideline management. So before we get into the particulars of sideline management, let's take a look at why we're revisiting this issue. It comes from the 2017 points of emphasis. There are 4 points of emphasis in 2017, one of which is sideline management and control. Now, the verbiage in the rule book is lengthy. It's almost a page long. I've taken a couple of the highlights. The first point they make is that sideline management and consistent enforcement of the rules pertaining to the restricted area and the team box continue to be an issue in many areas of the country. Now, this restricted area has been in place for 7 years, and it's still not being respected by players and coaches. The rule says no one may be in the restricted area when the ball is live. That means no one. That means not 20 yards upfield from the line of scrimmage, downfield from the line of scrimmage. No one can be in the restricted area when the ball is live. Why? If the restricted area is not clearly delineated or not enforced by game administration, coaches, or game officials, that's us, individuals in the restricted area are at a risk for injury during or after a play. It's a safety issue, guys. We've got to enforce it. And NFHS's guidance is that violations of the restricted area should immediately result in the beginning of the progression of the penalties prescribed in Rule 9-8. Now, from a practical standpoint, of course, we are going to work with the coaches. But this is telling us that we are giving them far too much leeway, and we've got to be very emphatic that we're going to enforce this rule. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at the restricted area. There's a diagram of the football field just prior to Rule 1 in the rule book. You will see that the restricted area is 2 yards wide and extends between the 25-yard lines. This area belongs to us, the officials. The black area directly behind the restricted area is the team box. That is where coaches and non-players are to stand at all times. The exception to that is that 3 coaches are allowed in the restricted area between the time the ball becomes dead and the subsequent snap. Substitutes are also allowed to stand in the restricted area during a dead ball. The rules regarding violations within the restricted area are contained in Rule 9. Rules regarding contact between officials and non-players are contained in Rule 9-4-8, and rules regarding violations within the restricted area are contained in Rule 9-8. Coaches and players are not allowed below the 25-yard line. That's covered in Rule 9-8-3. Typically, if we have people in the restricted area below the 25, they're spectators, cameramen, etc. We cannot flag the team for the actions of those people. Instead, we want to have game administration clear the area. If you have to, stop the game to get that done. So now let's take a look at a couple of examples of good sideline control. These coaches are respecting the restricted area. You can see that the official has a clear path up and down the sideline. Here's another great example. Even though this official gets contacted by a defensive player, he still has plenty of room to work. This play illustrates why the restricted area needs to be clear both upfield and downfield. As the play comes towards this official, he needs to move back to get out of the way and then rule as the runner runs down the sideline. Without a clear path, this is a very difficult thing to do. This play again illustrates why the sideline must be clear. This official needs to rule on legality of contact between the receiver and the defender. He's going to have to rule whether the receiver was inbound when he caught the ball, and he may have to assist in judging possession throughout the catch. This is an NFL style replay type of play, and this official only gets one look at it. He's not going to be able to do his job if that sideline's not clear. So now let's take a look at some situations where the restricted area is not being respected. Obviously here we've got 8 coaches standing in the restricted area. This is a flag immediately, guys. If you've warned them that they only can have 3 and you see this, put the flag down. Here's another situation. We've got multiple coaches and a player in the restricted area. This next clip shows why this is such a problem. The official can't do his job if he's dealing with coaches to either side of him. You can see this official is signaling downfield. He's got coaches upfield. They're not paying attention to him. As Wayne says, throw a flag. Now we're going to see the consequence of the restricted area not being respected. We're going to have an official who's zigzagging down the field, getting out of the way of players and coaches to rule on this play. We're going to see it again here, a different play, same situation. This official had to come onto the field to get out of the way of the people in the restricted area. There's no way he could see the toes close to that sideline, but he's got to make a ruling. There should be a flag going up right now. Here's another one. You can see the official has to be on the field to avoid the coaches in the restricted area. Again, a flag should be thrown. Now here's an example of an official who has a clear path. Now, the great thing about this is he's not looking forward to see if he's going to run into somebody, and now he can rule on action at the point of attack and behind. Watch the official glance to the side. We've already described the restricted area as being located between the 25-yard lines. From the 25-yard line to the goal line, there should be no non-player, player, or coach in that area. If we are dealing with spectators or photographers, we cannot penalize the team. This situation needs to be handled by game administration. It's okay to stop the game and get game administration involved in clearing the area, but do not penalize the team. So now let's discuss violations of the restricted area. The violation is covered under Rule 9, Section 8, Article 3. Notice the title of Section 8, Non-Contact Unsportsmanlike Conduct by Non-Players. Let's take a look at the rule, Article 3. A non-player shall not be outside of his team box unless to become a player or return as a replace player. A maximum of 3 coaches may be in the restricted area. No player, non-player, or coach shall be in the restricted area when the ball is live. So now let's take a look at the penalty for violations of Rule 983. The first offense is simply a warning. You can see the signal here. The second offense is a 5-yard penalty. Here's the signal for that foul. Each subsequent offense is an unsportsmanlike foul carrying a 15-yard penalty. It is charged to the head coach. Regardless of whether the head coach was actually in the restricted area, the casebook says in case 9.8.3 situation A that the third and fourth infractions are both 15-yard penalties. Since the head coach is responsible for the team box, the fouls are all charged to the head coach. The second penalty for a 15-yard unsportsmanlike foul results in the disqualification of the head coach. Now, obviously, we want to do everything we can to avoid the disqualification of a head coach. Make sure the coach is aware that that third foul is an unsportsmanlike foul against him, and a subsequent foul will result in his disqualification. As Wayne points out, sideline interference calls are not popular with coaches. They often will protest that we're just being too nitpicky. As we pointed out before, this is a safety issue. Now here we have a real-life example of sideline interference being called in a big playoff game. You can see the coach is not happy. The officials explained him the situation. And look at this. After being penalized, we still have coaches in the restricted area. Wayne's about to bring up the coverage of this particular foul in our mechanics book. And really good advice here. Communication also should include a reminder of the distance penalties for further violations. And we need to record the time and period when the warning is given. So you can see there the time on the clock. This is the way our card should look. Same teams. So now the other team gets a second warning. And of course, those coaches are protesting. I got to give these officials credit. This is a big game, and they're not afraid to throw this flag. So now both teams have 2 sideline interference calls. The next one is going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct on the head coach. Here again, Wayne is reinforcing that we need to verbally inform and remind the coach that each subsequent foul is going to be an unsportsmanlike foul against him. He's recording the time of the second one. And we're still not clear. This is a difficult situation. This is a championship game, and by rule, this coach has earned a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct foul and is one unsportsmanlike conduct foul away from disqualifying himself from the game. Personally, my advice would be to take a moment and remind the coach that this is a safety issue. It's also a point of emphasis by the National Federation, and if he continues to violate the rule, he will have earned an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. Now we're going to talk about contact in the restricted area between non-players and officials. This is handled differently than simply being in the restricted area. If there's contact, you'll see it right there. The official throws the flag. This foul is covered under Rule 9, Section 4, which covers illegal personal contact, Article 8. Unintentional contact between a non-player and a game official in the restricted area while the ball is live. For the first offense, it's a 15-yard penalty from the succeeding spot. For the second offense, 15 yards from the succeeding spot and disqualification of the head coach. If the contact is judged to be flagrant, it is an immediate ejection. Now, an important distinction needs to be made here. You'll remember that violations of Rule 983 were unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. Violations of 948 are personal fouls, and they cannot be combined. So if we had a third violation of 983 and a single violation of 948, they would not combine to result in the disqualification of the head coach. Well, that's it for this special edition of the 2017 OCFOA film study. Remember, guys, take back the sidelines.